Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over the N-PAP rifle that you see here. Recently I did a review of the O-PAP rifle. Got a ton of requests for this one in. Just another Yugoslavian rifle variant out there. I know Yugoslavia doesn't exist today, but in the US that's what we generally still call these rifles. But we're going to do a little shooting here today, do an accuracy test. Just let you know what I think of it overall, go over some of the specs. That'll pretty much do it. But for now, we'll get back to putting some rounds downrange. Time to get into the details a little bit. I guess we'll start at the back end here with the stock. Taking a quick look at it, you'll notice it is a little bit different than standard AK stocks. It does also have a different rear part of the receiver here, and the stock is actually mounted instead of on a tang like a typical AK. There's a big long bolt that goes right through the stock and bolts in here. Now the stock itself is also larger than your standard AK stock. It has a higher comb and it's also fatter. Just taking a look at it, you'll see it's much fatter as well. Now that's kind of a double-edged sword. The higher comb is great if you're using optics or anything like that, but getting down to see the iron sights, you do have to kind of actually think about it if you're used to a standard AKM pattern rifle. It's not impossible. I was doing it all day, as you guys saw out there, but it's something that initially you do have to get used to. The length of pull is also a little bit longer than usual. Compared to a Warsaw length stock, it's a good bit longer, about 1.5 inches. The total length of pull is just right around 13 inches. Again, if you're a Western shooter, a lot of guys I know are going to like that, but folks that are used to the Warsaw pact, maybe a con. Just something you have to take into account there. Another feature that's different about this rifle here is going to be the pistol grip. It's a little bit different than the peg pistol grip that you see on a lot of AKs that come into the country. It does have the finger grooves. I find it to be a pretty ergonomic grip from the factory. However, that grip, the piston, as well as the trigger group and the slant cut muzzle brake up front are the parts that Century replaces to make this rifle 922R compliant when it comes in from the Zastava factory over in Serbia. Speaking of the trigger is the Tapco G2 trigger. Very good trigger in my opinion. Smooth trigger, brakes right around 3 to 4 pounds. Smooth, nice brake, and a good positive reset. A lot of folks are fans of the Tapco G2. You can count me among them. Certainly not a bad trigger at all. Looking at the receiver, you'll note that it is cut for a double hook trigger, although the Tapco G2 used in here is the single hook. The selector switch on the rifle is notched for the bolt hold open feature, which we'll get into here in a second. Up here is the safe position. Down here is the fire position. You'll see this little metal tab coming up is a little bit longer than what you'd see on the military version of this rifle, the M70, because it does not have the full auto capability, obviously. So you're going to notice that is a little different than the military version, for those of you guys familiar with it, but it does operate just fine. And it is nice and tight, as you'd expect from a Zastava rifle. These rifles are pretty much tight, have tight tolerances all around, especially when compared to other AKs out there that tend to be very loose. Rifles just feel like they're built to a very high quality, and they perform as such, as you guys have seen so far here today. But taking a look here at this bolt hold open feature, basically if you take your standard Yugoslavian mag, which has the bolt hold open, on your last round, it's going to lock the bolt open. Now you'll notice that the carrier here does not line up with the little notch, but you can just pretty easily pull it back and lock it open. If for those of you guys that shoot on ranges that require guns to have the bolts locked open, you can do that without having to put a chamber flag or anything in there. And then once you're ready to get back into action, you can put your next mag in and then just put the rifle back on fire and get back to shooting. A big difference between the O-PAP and the N-PAP rifles is going to be right up front here. It does not have the bulge trunnion like the O-PAP does. It has a standard AKM style front trunnion. That allows the rifle to be a little bit lighter weight. Overall, even with the wood stocks on here, this rifle comes in a little bit over 1 pound lighter than the O-PAP rifle. So for those of you guys that are looking for something a little bit more handy, but still has the same Zastava build quality, the N-PAP may be something you want to look at over the O-PAP. That said, some folks say the O-PAP has the bulge trunnion, which leads to greater accuracy. In practical use, I haven't found that to be the case. Both rifles seem to be equally accurate, even with the lack of the bulge trunnion there. The rear side of the rifle is a standard leaf sight that is graduated for distance, like most of the AK rifles out there, all the way out to 1,000 meters, which in my opinion for the 7.62 round is kind of wishful thinking, but it is there should you choose to use it. On the left side of the receiver, we do have an optics rail. Now the optics rail on the Zastava rifles does sit a little bit higher than some other optics rails out there, so just keep that in mind when you're going to be buying your mount for them. If you buy one made for the standard AKM, it's going to sit a little bit higher. However, there are some companies like RS Regulated out there now that are making mounts specifically for these rifles, which will keep the optics nice and low. This particular model of the N-PAP has the wood furniture as you see here, and you're taking a close look here at the handguard, you'll notice it does have a very nice finish, especially as it comes from the factory. Rarely do you see AKs that come out of the factory with finishes this nice. Now the actual wood itself, a lot of folks think it's teak out there. More likely than not, it's actually a type of birch wood that's pretty common over in Eastern Europe. Very likely that's what they're using over there at the Zastava factory. The handguards though are not standard AKM. Once again, and get something that's a little bit different on this rifle. However, with the large quantity of Zastava Serbian rifles that have come into the country now, there are plenty of different aftermarket handguard sets out there, as well as railed handguards, and really anything else that'd be available for other AKM variants out there are pretty much available now for the Yugo variants. So if you want to mount an Ultimac, for instance, you can do that. If you want a railed lower handguard, you can get that. So definitely not an issue here with this rifle. Moving up front here, you'll note that there is no bayonet lug here. However, we do have a sling swivel. None of the N-PAP rifles come in with bayonet lugs. These are newly built rifles from all new parts, so it's not meant as a military surplus rifle, if you will. So I guess over there in the factory, they decided that we didn't need the bayonet lug over here in the United States, and I agree, most people really aren't going to use it. Unlike some of the M70 variants out there, there is no grenade launcher sight on here. There's also no night sights on the rifle. You do have a standard AK style front sight, adjustable for windage, and it is also adjustable for elevation. Under the slant cut muzzle device, there is 14mm threading on there, standard AK pattern, so any sort of muzzle device that fits that 14mm thread pattern will work just fine on this rifle. Time to test the accuracy here. We have Red Army standard in there, and we got a 4-power optic on there, not exactly high powered, but should get the job done at 100 meters where we got the target down range. We'll see what kind of accuracy we can get with non-match grade ammo. Let's go see what we got. Here's the target. As you can see, I had 2 of them pretty much touch each other right here, and then we had one low here. Taking a look at the measuring from right in the middle. It appears that the group is just over 3 inches, about 3 1/4 inches. And considering the ammo that we're shooting in the gun, I'll take that all day long. 3 1/2 inch group at 100 yards, not too bad. Disassembling the rifle for maintenance is pretty straightforward with one sort of twist on there. First off, you want to put it on fire. Go ahead and make sure the chamber is empty, which it is on this rifle. Now, the difference that you're going to find from a lot of the AKs out there is going to be found over here on the left side of the receiver. This little button right here is necessary. You have to depress it in order to take either the top cover or the recoil spring out. So the reason that's on there, for those of you guys who don't know, is that a lot of the Serbian rifles in the past, they came with grenade launchers on there. They had the ability, I should say, to mount grenade launchers. And in order to keep the top cover from popping off when the grenade would fire off the rifle, they had to put that retainer on there. So that's why you have to depress it to take it off. And the same thing here for the recoil spring. You just depress it and your recoil spring comes right out. Pull the bolt carrier out, and you will notice that, taking a look here at the bolt, some of the earlier N-PAPs that came in years ago, like 2005, 6, 7, in that time frame, were imported with single stack bolts. Now those rifles tended to have some sort of problems with reliability, mag compatibility when you open them up with to take double stack mags, etc. These new ones do not have any of those issues. This rifle here has been 100% reliable with any ammo and magazine combination that I have put into it, and really can't complain about that. And as you can see here, the bolt obviously is a double stack bolt. Whenever folks are comparing these Serbian rifles to any of the other AK-47 variants out there on the market, one thing that always comes up is the non-chrome line barrel. Now the barrel itself is a 110 twist cold hammer forged barrel, factory Barrel. It's an excellent barrel, some of the best in the world in terms of workmanship and durability. That said, the durability is what generally gets questioned due to the lack of chrome lining. Now, chrome lining will make a rifle barrel more corrosion resistant, also more durable, and extend the barrel life. That said, these rifles have been used in the conflicts in the Balkan region as well as in the Middle East for the last 30 years. These are really the predominant rifle that you'll see over there if you take a look at the war in Syria as well as the Balkan Wars. And these rifles have held up just fine. And those guys, a lot of those guys are actually shooting corrosive ammo as well. So provided with minimal maintenance, at least the kind of maintenance that we can do over here in the States, where you take your rifle home, put a patch through the barrel. This barrel probably will outlive you, and you can probably pass it on to your children and still not have any issues in terms of accuracy or durability. So there is the lack of chrome lining compared to some of the other rifles out there. That said, it's still a very high quality barrel, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. Really, just as a summary of the rifle overall, in terms of accuracy, you already saw that. The reliability has been 100% like I mentioned earlier. Right now, we're sitting at just over 800 rounds through the rifle, so you really can't complain about that. Not a ton of rounds, but certainly enough to establish a pattern. And the price of the rifle, these ones here are coming to market here in the U.S. generally anywhere between, well, $500 to $600 depending on the model you get. The wood, or if you're getting the one with the adjustable stock, whatever the case may be. I tend to like the wood here. I think it looks great on the rifle, but your mileage may vary on that one. Really, all in all, can't complain about these N-PAP rifles. Every bit as good as the brother, the O-PAP, just a little bit lighter version. If you guys have any questions about this rifle or anything else I discuss here on the channel, you can always post below in the comments section. You can also post over at my Facebook page. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I hope to see you in the next video.